Hello, my name is Sierra Prochniak and I'm a second-year film student at Freestyle Academy. In this video, I will be pitching 3 feature film concepts that I've developed in my last semester at Freestyle. I will go over the pre-production, production, and post-production process for each pitch and explain what makes these stories worth telling. Pre-production. While I had my 3 pitch ideas set going into this process, my first step was to develop their visual characteristics using mood boards. For Oni, I have always known I wanted to create my own version of a martial arts movie. I grew up practicing Aikido and my dad practices ninjutsu. I want to create a film that highlights the passive and beautiful practices of martial arts while alluding to old traditions and including engaging fight scenes. I love Shakespeare's plays, but A Midsummer Night's Dream has always been my favorite because of how magical it is. For this film, I wanted to tackle how to execute the specific magical aesthetic of set design through a cinematic lens. Filming at Stanford University was a great solution. The architecture reminded me a lot of old ballet sets. For this pitch, I knew I wanted to have a purple, orange, and white color scheme. I am also really drawn to the editorial fashion scene, and I love art history. I chose to combine these 2 interests in my pitch for Framed, where the word framed has a double meaning. In this murder mystery, the main character is quote-unquote framed for a murder she didn't commit, yet all her movements have to simulate that of a famous painting. Every move she makes is in the quote-unquote frame. For this film, Wes Anderson liked bright colors, and the use of a fisheye lens and distortion add to the odd feeling an audience member would get when they watch this. Production. A part of this process that was new to me was acting as my own casting director. For Framed, my actress had experience with experimental photography, which was important to me because my vision was so specific. For A Midsummer Night's Dream, both of my actors were experienced with onstage acting and familiar with the play. For Oni, I knew I wanted to feature my dad alongside his good friend and actor Charles. On set, I executed the planned blocking that I had used along with costume requests to communicate my film mode messages, which I will elaborate on in post-production. Post-production. Post-production was the phase I spent most of my time in. In this section, I'm going to go through each pitch video and break down my visuals. For this film, color grading is what makes the scenery. I used Adobe Premiere Pro's LUTs as my base on all my clips and adjusted them using the Lumetri color curves. I duplicated each clip and stacked them on the timeline. Then, I lowered the opacity and added a Gaussian blur to add a luminous effect. In the play, a group of side characters put on the play Pyramus and Thisbe, a Babylonian love story that inspired Romeo and Juliet. Pyramus and Thisbe communicated through a crack in the wall, and in A Midsummer Night's Dream, they have a character play the wall when they do this play within a play. I wanted to allude to this in my pitch because it's one of my favorite scenes. I included this in when Lysander and Hermia look at each other through the sliver of the wall. I also used intentional blocking to visually display how this couple is in the center of the universe. In this frame, not only is the couple in the center, but they're holding hands. Their union is the very center. I did something similar in Oni, yet I alluded to the contrast between the 2 characters. The bows hit in X formations, displaying the difference in their mindsets. In order to create a peaceful aesthetic in this film, my location was Westwind Community Barn, a grassy field in Los Altos Hills. Sound effects were especially important in this film as each time the bow swung, a whoosh effect was added to increase the intensity of the scene. For Framed, the majority of the symbolism was taken directly from famous art pieces that I really enjoy. My actress sits in positions paralleling the Mona Lisa, Scream, The Last Supper, Frida Kahlo, and more. Color grading was the biggest part of Framed, and I learned so much through this process. My goal was to have strong colors, but this time I didn't use LUTs as my base. I used the Creative tab, Curves, and I learned how to use the Key Color tool to accentuate features like my actress's red hair. I used a lot of masks to remove hues that I didn't want, such as the orange hue on the table. And finally, I used many distortion effects to create that odd feeling when you watch this film. I'm incredibly happy with how these pitches turned out, and I would love to pitch one or even all of these films to a producer. These ideas will definitely be in my mind for the rest of my life, and I hope to keep working on them through future projects. Thank you so much for watching this video.